question, the member from Toronto Danforth.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question to the Premier. The Premier insists that selling Hydro One is essential, even though it pays for less than 3% of her infrastructure promises. But the truth is it might pay for a lot less than 3%. Dr. Douglas Peters, Chief Economist for TD Bank for 26 years, a former Federal Secretary of State, and his colleague, Dr. David Peters, say, quote, the Council believes that Hydro One could have a value in the marketplace of $13.5 billion to $15 billion. We think the Council is too optimistic, and $10.6 billion is a more likely valuation. Premier, isn't it true that the net $4 billion you say will come from your fire sale could in fact be a lot lower?
I know the Minister of Energy is going to want to speak to the supplementary, but let me just say this, that the whole reason that we are embarking on this process, the whole reason we ran on reviewing our assets, Mr. Speaker, and using them to leverage the building of new assets for this century, Mr. Speaker, and for our kids and our grandkids, is that infrastructure needs to be built. What we hear from the third party is basically do nothing. Yep. Don't do it. Don't make those investments. Don't build those roads and bridges and transit, Mr. Speaker. Just sit back and pretend that somehow our economy is going to grow, that our communities are going to thrive if we don't make those investments. That is not the case, Mr. Speaker. They will not thrive unless we make those investments. That's what government exists to do, is to put the conditions in place for economic growth and prosperity. That's why we're making those investments.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Speaker, the Premier says she'll get $4 billion for selling Hydro One, and the cost is higher hydro bills for families and businesses. Ontarians losing control of an asset that's too important to give away. And according to senior economists, the truth is the $4 billion figure is probably inflated, which means that money isn't going to make the difference to infrastructure that needs to be made. Does the Premier have anything other than a wing and a prayer to back up her claim that selling hydro will give us $4 billion?
Good question.
Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite is actually making a lot of speculation, which actually harms the opportunities to create greater value.
The member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke, second time. Carry on.
And that actually precludes us from creating greater value from that corporation. Bottom line is, we are assessing, we are going to foster the conditions necessary to provide the maximum value for a very precious Crown corporation that we all value. And in order for us to ensure that we make it secure, we work in the best interests of the public. And that is what we're doing here, Mr. Speaker, because we're reinvesting dollar for dollar, all of that money, into another project to generate even more revenue and more returns. And, Mr. Speaker, that's in the best interest of the public, and that is what we're doing. Thank you.